All right. Hey, everybody. Yorgos, Victor, Shumo.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, welcome. How's everyone doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Excellent.
Hi guys.
All right. Looks like we've got the whole crew together here. So, Yorgos, I will hand it over to you.
All right. So, yeah, I guess maybe quick introductions. It seems like we have some folks from the Manta community over. So, let me go first. I'm one of the founders of Axelar. Axelar is a decentralized and universal interoperability platform that is connecting all major chains, including Polkadot parachains, Bitcoin, the Cosmos ecosystem, Ethereum, in the future Solana, and more. And we just launched, or we just started doing our gradual mainnet rollout over the past couple of weeks. We just announced the first application, the first cross-chain application that we launched on top of Axelar. It's Satellite. It's the first of its kind. It's a decentralized bridging solution that can move UST and Luna from Terra to all major EVM blockchains, and we already have some traction. So to anyone interested, go to our website, check it out. There's already some pools on the Avalanche where you can trade, get some APR, and so on. And with respect to this call, we've known Sumo for quite a while. We worked closely together back at Algorand, and Sumo was always one of the few people that would stay in the office until late at night, just working, on crypto and other stuff. And Sumo, I know we never talked about this, so as you're doing your introduction, would love to also hear how you came up with the idea for Manta, because I believe like cryptography and privacy was not always in your background. So very curious to hear what motivated you to start this with Victor.
Great, thanks, Yorgos. Yeah, so it has been a super fun journey. Like I guess my first job is research scientist at Algorand. There I met Yorgos, and Yorgos was doing like very hardcore protocol design stuff. At that time, I was building the Algorand smart contract language PyTeal, and I kind of I do have a kind of formal computer science education. My kind of background is database systems and programming languages. I do have kind of like a rigorous and formal treatment of mathematics, but until my time at Algorand, I started to work on more like cryptographies, and I was really kind of like amazed by like a zero knowledge proof cryptography since that time, and kind of dig into that rabbit hole since then. Right? I think the what actually motivated me to build Manta is really from the problem rather than from the technique. I think if you actually knows a little bit about how blockchain works, right? You thought like blockchain must be using something crypto stuff, right? It must be private, but actually it's a country, right? So it's really like kind of extending your money over Twitter, right? You broadcast your transaction to like every person on Earth. And what makes things worse is that this transaction history will be there forever, right? This is a huge issue, at least in my view, right? So I think I kind of since then systematically studied all this kind of like literature, for example, loadable like Monero, like Zcash, and a few others like privacy design. That's where we come up Manta, right? So I think Manta really come up with solving the problems. So what is the problem we saw? I think the biggest problem we saw is that lacking privacy, of course, is an issue, right? Also, I think a huge thing we saw is that the existing kind of like a privacy blockchain product, it kind of lacks of utility, right? So, for example, taking Zcash as an example, right? I think it's great. We learn a lot from the protocol design point of view, but it's a single asset protocol, right? I think in the kind of like open blockchain world, everyone has their own like everyone has their own favorite tokens. We don't want to take any opinion on that. We want just like privatize any kind of tokens we want, right? And the second biggest issue is that we think it's kind of like the private token lacks programmability. And this is actually what Manta is going to work on next, actually bring like a privacy preserving smart contract into the platform, right? So, but I think in short, right? So we are kind of a privacy utility providers. We can provide utilities to privacy utilities to all the substrate and Polkadot based tokens through XEM, and hopefully we can via like the decentralized bridge like Axelar to provide like privacy utilities to all the tokens in other ecosystems. So that's kind of like a short description of Manta.
Amazing. And I think with Axelar, our vision from the very beginning was that different blockchains will specialize on different use cases. And we actually considered with Sergey at some point working on privacy just because of the need for this. But at the end of the day, we decided to do one thing and do it well, build this cross-chain infrastructure. And, we leave it to guys like yourselves to actually do this right, and we'll bring the assets over. But I think one of the original motivations was that we need privacy. We cannot build it everywhere. It's just not compatible with most blockchains out there. So just a Substrate-specific blockchain specializing on privacy is what we need for this. And you build this public good for the Polkadot ecosystem, but I think the possibilities are endless here. We can bring assets from like Bitcoin, any other blockchain, and basically make Manta privacy hub for the whole space. So when it comes to, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I don't have it.
Yeah. So curious, like, there's a bunch of assets we can bring over with Axelar, right? Axelar is a Cosmos IBC chain, for those who don't know. So we can, once we connect to Manta, we can bring assets from basically the whole Cosmos ecosystem. So curious, what are some big synergies you see? In the early days, is it just bringing assets? Like, should we start thinking about composing applications with application built on top of Manta? I guess, what are the core, where do you see most of the demand for assets? And what are some applications that people should be excited about in the early days?
Oh, I think there are like definitely like endless possibilities of the private applications. I think in terms of like collecting Axelar ecosystem, right? I think it's really about like we don't again, like we are like permissionless blockchain, right? So basically, like anyone can privatize any kind of asset in Manta. And for example, I think a lot of folks are excited about like a Terra in Cosmos ecosystem, and for example, like the assets like UST and all these kind of like a Cosmos assets we are pretty excited to privatize. And also, I think what is interesting, at least to me, is that so there are two kind of people talking about bridges, people talking about composabilities, programmabilities a lot, right? But indeed there are two kind of things. I think bridge is actually a far like a more important architecture than people thought. I think the first kind of synergy is that, for example, very simple, right? So for example, people have some tokens in let's say Terra or like a Cosmos ecosystem or like a Avalanche or whatever blockchain that Axelar supports, and then they transfer token to us and we privatize that, right? That's a first layer. And actually there is a second layer, which is, so I think in the future the bridge should support some like a primitive kind of like RPCs in distributed system, right? You can have like a remote execution. You actually bring like better, like more APIs just as a fungible token transfer. I think that will be more interesting in the sense that it can bring kind of like a interchain connectability through like composable function calls, like smart contract function calls. I think we are still kind of in the early stage, but I think then till that day, right? So you don't have to kind of like choose any blockchain. You can just stay at your favorite blockchain, and kind of like a smart contract can bring you everywhere, right? So, and in terms of the concrete applications, I think we do have a few like a very nice applications like we think is super important. For example, right? So let's say I think a lot of people knows the recent like Constitution DAO stuff, right? Basically, because of the lack of the privacy, the DAO actually lose the auction, right? So I think let's say if Manta connect through Axelar collect like a broader aspect of the things, right? So for example, the auction could happen privately in Manta's zero knowledge proof circuit, and so if you are a DAO, right, you don't have to become this kind of like open governance model to lose this like a constitution auction to a hedge fund guy just like bid like $1 more than you, and then you lose the entire auction because of lack of privacy, right? Another another kind of a concrete application I can think of is that, for example, let's say if you have a DAO, right? So you want to have a smart contract to do the governing However, you want to send the like members' salary, right? So I'm pretty sure like no one want to expose their salary payment in the completely in the open, right? So then you can use kind of like a Manta Pay's private payment functionalities to do to get a kind of open source governance structure in blockchain, right? I do think so currently like we don't see a lot of privacy adoption in that because of lack of utility, right? And once we have this utility, that's a goal that Manta hopefully to bring to the surface in the next few years. So we can definitely see more and more like a private applications. And last but not least, right? So basically, Manta is going to build a open sourced and also EVM compatible programming layer for the program asset. Really, the question should be asked yourself, right? Which kind of smart contract you can build on top of the private asset support? I think the possibility is just like endless, honestly.
Awesome, yeah, and maybe to quickly focus on the first one, that's a use case I had not realized becomes possible with Manta. And with Axelar, we're really focused on user experience. So initially with Satellite, we provide seamless cross-chain asset transfers, but the goal really is to provide users with the ability to interact with any application from their wallet on any platform, right? So let's say you have MetaMask on Ethereum, you want to place a bid or vote on something. Basically what we can do is we can have users place their votes like privately on Manta and basically without the information, right? So back to the Ethereum, the Solidity application. So the user really never has to even like have a Manta wallet, and all the private backend of the application can live on Manta. So I think that's actually like quite powerful, and yes, we should start thinking about this use case a bit more. I guess on the EVM layer, like the other reason why it's very attractive to something like Axelar is because we can deploy our existing contracts, right? And we're very thoughtful about security, right? And the stack is definitely generalizable. It can connect to any chain, but we have to be a little conservative, right? With new stacks, like they need to be audited properly, and the EVM stack is the most battle tested so far. So curious, like if you have any concrete timelines there, and I guess, yeah, how should we start thinking about integration on that end? Because that would basically make the integration trivial and also like very solid from a security standpoint.
Right. For sure. I think we get a pretty good idea how this like a programmable like asset layers like design. I think we solved kind of all the hard design issues. One of the design issues here is that how we kind of because for someone who don't know Manta, right? Because of the privacy, like Manta fungible token layer is using a UTXO model. And if you want to do a programmable layer to EVM, then you need to kind of do some like consolidation of the UTXO and the account model. And I think we have a very elegant technical solution for that, right? I think in terms of the concrete development timeline, I think we are going to launch the testnet for the programmable private asset support, most likely on Q3 or Q4 this year. But actually before that, we have more exciting things. So we are actually going to launch the a private payment testnet v2 end of the February, which is really soon. So this brings a few exciting updates to the existing private payment product. For example, the first one is reusable address, and the second one is the zero knowledge proof performance is improved by a lot. We worked really hard to kind of optimize the zero knowledge proof circuit. So for example, like current in the next version, the next version Manta Pay, like a private payment zero knowledge proof circuit, is actually like a 1/10 of the constraint compared with the zk-SNARK stepling. And we have a multi asset support, and zk-SNARK doesn't, for example, right? So this really kind of like increase the user experience in terms of approving time a lot. And yeah, so I think definitely we are getting a pretty busy year in the 2022, and just have a serious more like a product update coming in the way.
Yeah, like everyone, and yeah, that's great stuff, and you definitely have the right team to work on all those things. I guess, one other like thought I just had is, with composability, right? When we want to compose with a private chain, usually, from my understanding, right, if you want to like, I guess, be anonymous with your transactions, you want to leave the asset on the private chain for a while, right? If I take Bitcoin, like go and swap it through Manta, like for Ether, people can like correlate the transfers, right? Like the amounts. Like if I basically like swap Bitcoin for Ether on Manta and then like take it out, it will be pretty easy for people to trace. So do you think like people should start thinking about, I guess, parking their assets of Manta for some time, just trying to better understand like the design space for cross-chain composability when it comes to leveraging all the advantages of privacy that Manta offers?
Right. So that's very interesting. This is actually something like actually like we observe, right? So, so when you talk about privacy, you have to like kind of carefully define what is privacy, right? So here, so basically, there is a privacy of the transactions execution logic, and there is a privacy of the end users. And at Manta, we care about the privacy of the end users. So, for example, that's why we can reconsolidate the private asset with programmability, in the sense that our kind of like a business logic layer still could be public, in the 90% of use cases. But however, as long as kind of we basically has this kind of like a UTXO to account model consolidation layer, so that we can simulate the account model using the UTXO, right? Your like private identity will still remains, right? So this is basically the way with that. For in concrete example, right? So for example, if people are using if people are using like a whatever like chain that Axelar support, they're using a MetaMask, and they want to kind of like execute a smart contract call on Manta, right? So let's say if we can actually build some like a kind of like a RPC mechanisms through Axelar on this cross-chain transfer and this kind of like cross-chain remote execution, right? I mean, people just don't need to do anything, just like using like his or her like MetaMask to sign the function call, and it getting executed, right? Basically, while this then I mean, people has another layer of account that has a different set of secret that controls the private asset, while getting kind of like getting some like a side effect of this execution, right? So I think this is a I mean, for the time's sake, I wouldn't bore you with the technical details, but basically the idea here is that like this kind of RPC like composability of the cross-chain execution could make a lot of things possible.
Great, and it also sounds like a more pragmatic approach, right? So you don't try to, hide every little thing. You're just focused on like, giving privacy to the end user and doing it so in a way that is easy to implement, right? So
right.
You're probably that's why you're gonna be first to market, like when compared to some of these other solutions that try to do everything. So those are some interesting trade-offs.
Right.
And and I guess maybe one last question from me, and maybe I pass it to you to see if you'd like to know more about Axelar. But with Axelar, we've been talking to the various parachains, and ideally, we'd like to connect everything directly, but we have to be mindful of the existing interoperability protocols within the Polkadot ecosystem and the health of the ecosystem in general, right? So, for example, concretely, if say we bridge directly to like Moonbeam and then bridge directly to Manta, A-Star, Akala, then we'll have 4 different versions of UST in the Polkadot ecosystem, right? And then if you try to bridge them over using XCMP, you wouldn't be able to do that, right? You'd end up with different versions. So this would only lead to more fragmentation. So one potential solution to that is that for, either everyone like uses the whatever like Axelar or whatever protocol connects those parachains, and then XCMP is not widely used, which doesn't seem ideal, given that XCMP is the most seamless way to transfer assets within Polkadot parachains. The other one would be to maybe like pick a layer, pick a parachain for each asset. Maybe we could say like, I don't know, Moonbeam is going to be the landing parachain for UST. We do it on Manta. and then people just use XCMP to move across parachains. And all this we can abstract away from the user, right? For example,
right.
Axelar could move like UST to Moonbeam, and then we'd have a proxy contract that would basically just send it directly to the user on Manta, right? So you could get the optimal user experience, and you would also be compatible with XCMP. But then it would be up to the communities to split the assets. So yeah, curious if you have any thoughts around that. But
I think
we're really
I was
yeah,
kind of like I was digging into the rabbit hole of XCM, XMP these days. So this, I mean, there are some like more elegant solutions here, right? So basically, XCM is really kind of a so there is a difference between XCM and XMP. XCM is kind of like a program language, and XMP is a protocol. And I mean, XCM actually is quite flexible. So for example, we can actually consolidate, for example, Manta. We are also working with Moonbeam, by the way, as well, right? So, for example, we can consolidate, right? So, for example, once you enter the substrate or like a parachain ecosystem, right, we can consolidate one of the reserved locations of that, and then the cross-chain transfer will become very easy. Also, we could having some like a unified token identifiers for this, for example, the cross consensus, really not cross chain. Cross consensus means that some asset that others in Polkadot asset, like bring through Axelar to this Polkadot ecosystem, and then we can actually. I think honestly, I think if all the team work together, we can have a much better solution to the end users. This fragmentation, honestly, I don't think this is necessary.
Great, yeah, and I don't think it's a technical problem really, right? It's just about getting everyone together, agreeing to some standards. So yeah, we should get this dialogue going. And honestly, yeah, Polkadot, like everyone really wants to work together and do the best for the ecosystem. So it's a super collaborative ecosystem. But yeah, we should get these discussions going. And I'm sure internally, like within the different teams, there is already some dialogue. So we really should push this forward as we're bringing more assets to Polkadot from external chains. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sumo. Yeah, I guess.
Great.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to see if you have any questions as well. Like I know I took up most of the time, but happy to also see how we can help. Right, if you have any particular questions about Axelar.
Yeah, I think I read the Axelar white paper pretty deep, so I kind of understand. Just want to for some folks don't know Axelar as much as I do, right? So for example, can you give us a short description? Like, I mean, there are tons of token bridges right now, right? What is the differentiate Axelar from the other bridges? For example, the multisig based, all the others, right? So I think it may be great if you can give some listeners who don't know Axelar as much, kind of like a short description, like why Axelar is truly different.
Absolutely, yeah. So Axelar itself, and there is a differentiation here. It's not a bridge, right? We have this satellite bridge built on top, but Axelar is just a cross-chain messaging layer, right? So you can build all kinds of application on top of it. And that's really unique because, well, first of all, most of the bridges that you see in the market today are pairwise. So for example, like if you move using some other bridge, for example, like UST to Avalanche, then you cannot move it directly to Polkadot. You have to go back to Terra. So even the first application that we built, Satellite, with Axelar, it's kind of a unidirectional solution that you can use to route assets. So if you try it out, you can go like UST, like from Phantom to Avalanche to other chains. So it has this more general property, right? So it's more of an end-to-end connector rather than a bridge. At its core layer, Axelar is all about passing information, passing messages across different blockchains. And to my knowledge, it's the first permissionless and decentralized solution for something like that. It's permissionless because it's built on the Cosmos stack. Axelar itself, it's based on layer 1 technology. It has its own set of validators, similar to other chains like the Cosmos Hub, Osmosis, Terra. And this is really the security model that any proof of stake blockchain adopts, right? And our thesis from the start was that it's all about the validators. Security is all about the validators. Strong validators run on all major chains, so we wanted to replicate that model. And basically, whenever you move assets or information through Axelar, you are depending on a decentralized set of validators similar to any other proof of stake chains, right? And that's kind of a unique design that we have not seen in many other bridges, with the exception maybe of the Gravity solution, which connects right now like Ethereum and Cosmos. And in the longer term, like besides some of these asset transfers that we're working on, we're also building the application layer protocol. At this point, the network itself is quite robust, so there's not too much new features to build. We're really focusing on the application layer protocols so that you can leverage, as a user, you can leverage this native experience where, let's say, you want to interact with something like Anchor on Terra, but you have your wallet on Manta, right? And you hold some staking derivative on Manta, and you want to get a loan against it on Anchor on Terra. You really should be able to do it through your MetaMask or whatever the native wallet on Manta is, where basically on the backend, what would happen is Axelar would route the information over to Terra. It would get a loan in USD on Anchor, and it would route the USD back and give it to the user. So basically, you can do all these like cross-chain applications without actually having to rebuild as a developer on 15 different chains, right? So I think over the next year, we're going to see a change in how people think about the cross-chain, where it's not really multi-chain as people build now, where you have to deploy on 15 different chains if you want to leverage different users. As a developer, you should be able to build on one blockchain for your use case. And I guess Manta is a perfect example here because there's not many other blockchains like it. And through Axelar, you will be able to bring over assets and information so that you can offer this native user experience for your users on any other chain.
Right. Interesting. So I think actually the first time I saw like Axelar design, I was like, this is so cool. I mean, I was doing kind of like a database research before, right? So this is in database, there is a so-called star schema. I'm not sure I heard of it. Basically, there's a centralized table, kind of within there a Testnet table, right? So just making sure, correct me if I'm wrong. I think if you think about internet, right? So basically, other bridges are peer-to-peer, right? You have this one bridge to other. My understanding is that Axelar is more like a router, right? In the kind of like a internet analogy, you just like send the message through the Axelar, then you kind of route to different chains, kind of like automatically with this set of decentralized validator. Do you think it's the right analogy here?
Yeah, I think it's a great analogy, and actually for people who are familiar with Cosmos and Polkadot, and that was our original motivation actually, right? Like with Polkadot, you have the relay chain that can route information across different chains, and it's a universal protocol across this ecosystem. And similarly, in the Cosmos ecosystem, you can connect chains directly, but you can also decide to go through the hub to do things more efficiently, right? So that was some of the original motivation for that. And we basically just generalized this model to account for chains that are not like IBC or XCM compatible. But for people who are in the Polkadot ecosystem, one way to think about it is very similar to like the XCMP protocol, but universal for all chains, not just for Polkadot native chains.
Great. Oh, by the way, Yorgos, do you think we should open some questions for the people attending this event? Or
I know. I'm not sure how to do that, but Eli, can we do this?
We can. If people want to raise their hands for a question, we can raise them up to be a speaker.
Yeah, or maybe like Sumo and I don't have too much experience doing these spaces, so maybe people can also drop on, I think it's standard that people also drop some questions on the chat if that's easier, but whatever works.
We'll just see if anybody... Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions at the moment, guys.
No worry.
Actually, I have a question coming from myself. By the way, I'm another co-founder of Manta. Shomo already share everything, so I don't need to share anything about Manta. I just get a question for Yorgos. Actually, yesterday there's a really big news about the wormhole. The things happen exploded the whole wormhole, and get all the Ethereum, withdraw to FTX. And what do you think of that? And what do you think, Axelar have, can actually bring, the security and truly decentralized bridge to the space?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and these things will happen over the next year. Like, no matter what you build and how securely, there's always like things can go wrong, right? There is some small probability that things will go wrong, and with wormhole, it was more of a smart contract bug, so it was not really any issue with the trust assumptions. We saw some people on Twitter just blaming like these cross-chain designs and like the incentive, that there's something wrong with their incentive structure, and it was really like a smart contract bug, like it has happened like countless times to smart contracts and other places. So I think the best thing we can do here is just have insurance protocol in place so that people can get their funds back when those things happen. But yeah, well audited code in general and just battle testing protocols for a while is the best path forward, right? And yeah, it's all about security. So yeah, at least we're not going from the Axelar side. We're not going to rush with launching new things. We're going to just make sure that everything is secure, and yeah, just security is the big focus. And it's unfortunate that this happened with Wormhole. Like, they have one of the better designs out there, and we wish them the best.
So it looks like we do have a couple questions. I'm gonna put somebody up here. Shipmate Cosmonaut, just give me a sec to add you. There we go. Like they're connecting. I'm not sure if they're going. Oh, there we go. Shipmate, you there?
Yeah, I'm
No
sorry, I
phone
was
is
having
connected.
microphone
Press the talk
issues.
button to confirm that you want to select the phone.
So I just had a quick question. I'm sorry to take your time. Basically, so say that I have Atom tokens in my Kepler wallet, and I wanted to get them across to the Terra ecosystem, or I guess that's not a good example, but like the Ethereum ecosystem, and I'm not able to use the gravity bridge. How would Axelar help me in achieving that? I haven't had a chance to read the white paper, but I just a quick understanding of how it would help me achieve that, and if that's kind of what the goal is.
Yeah. So I guess on the back end, the flow would basically be transfer with IBC over to Axelar, and then you'd use the protocol that we have to connect Axelar with EVM chains, which is it's a different protocol from IBC, but we take these two steps, right? Just transfer with IBC over to Axelar and then move it over to Ethereum. On the front end, we have the satellite app that right now abstracts this away from the user, and you can actually just go and use it with Ethereum or with Avalanche, with Moonbeam, and basically it's one click for the user, right? We give you a deposit address on Axelar, where you essentially, through Kepler, you go and route with IBC from whatever your chain is. I guess it's Atom. You want to get Atom over to Moonbeam. You basically just go and route it over to that address, and on the back end, Axelar just takes care of like moving it to your destination address over on the EVM chain of your choice. But at the core, it still leverages IBC, right? It is a Cosmos-based chain.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yorgos, what do you think? Time for one or two more questions?
Yeah, happy with that. And yeah, hopefully some people from our community have some questions about Manta as well.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to put our next person up here. Unimi Henry 4. There you go. Connecting now. Hey, Unimi, are you there? Looks like you're on as a speaker, but muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Hello,
can.
can you hear me? All right. I just want to ask a little question about the testnet. Is the testnet actually available for developers to try and create dApps, and see how we can interact with that Axelar blockchain?
Yeah, so right now I believe on Testnet we have it open for asset transfers and some of the other features for generic message passing and the APIs for cross-chain composability are gonna come over the next 1-2 months. So yeah, just follow the official announcements, but I think those things are coming very soon. And you can already play with regular asset transfers on Testnet.
Okay. I just want to ask a little bit question. Sorry for this very last question anyway. We were actually trying to build a decentralized exchange on the Axelar blockchain. Since the Axelar blockchain is actually able to connect as many blockchains as possible, will the developers, or let me say, will the exchange?
I think we lost you.
Diversify different blockchain without actually bringing in a technology that bridges and other things.
Hey, so you cut off a little bit in the middle, but I think I understand the question. So it's not exactly how it would work. So Axelar, while technically it is a layer 1 and you could build things on top of it, the way we're thinking about it is that it's just a pass-through layer, right? So as a developer, you should be able to go and build on Avalanche, on Moonbeam, on Manta, and Axelar will bring you the cross-chain composability you like, right? So if you want to build something like ThorChain, you can go on Moonbeam, right? It can even be like a Uniswap fork, and basically we'll just provide the APIs so that you can access assets from various different blockchains, right? But it will not be, I guess, built directly on Axelar as a layer 1. You just pick the best chain you like, be it like Terra, Avalanche, Moonbeam, Manta, and yeah, we'll provide the cross-chain APIs to you, and it's gonna be very easy to integrate.
All right, thank you very much. I think I love your project and keep it up. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's I guess that's coming over the next 1-2 months. So yeah, feel free to reach out on Discord over at the end to the team if you're building something, and we'll be happy to jump on a call and help you figure it out.
All right, no problem. Thank you very much.
Okay, Yorgos, one more, or shall we call it a day? I know we're coming up on 40 minutes in.
Yeah, I think people may have to jump. I have another call as well, so maybe we cut it here. Unless, I don't know, if Sum or Victor have anything to add.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you. Yeah, let's end here.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting us. Bye.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming by. Thank you for the questions. Sorry to the folks we didn't quite get to, but we'll have more AMAs coming up next week and the following. So come by and join us again, and we'll get to you next time.